Okay, back again for the next part. And this time we're going to do the file I/O that we're going to do in the prior part, but the video went too long. We're already up to 52 minutes. Way too long. Okay, I'm going to lose people by then. So back again for the next part. We're going to get the linked list application saving from file and loading from file. Okay, and this is especially for Keni Tafili. So Keni, this one's for you. The last video was mostly for Nora Sal, and that video took me about 5 or 6 hours. So 5 or 6 hours for you, Nora Sal. I'm not charging anything for my time, so I'm hoping you're clicking the thumbs up buttons, people. I gave up 5 or 6 hours of my time on a Sunday to do that, to do parts 5 for you, and I'm now giving up 3 or 4 hours of Sunday night to do the next part for you, because it's not just a video recording. Got to edit it, upload it, add a description, add it all set up for YouTube, convert it to MP4 and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of work to do after you finish recording, so it's not just an hour or two of recording time, it's much more. So click the thumbs up button, please. Show me you like the work. Otherwise, I'll go do something else. Righto. Especially for you, Keni. So you got to click the thumbs up, definitely. Righto. So Keni wrote to me just a couple of days ago. How can I make it so it saves the file or loads some file? Okay. And he was commenting on part 2 of the linked list series, my students GUI. And like in the prior video, this video, every video, to go on to this video, which is part 6, I assumed you've worked through and explored and written the code for the first 5 parts. Okay, there's no point coming in here and starting on part 6 and trying to write all the code at once. So I'm assuming you've worked through the first 5 videos. Okay, that's just standard learning procedure. Okay, and so the plan of attack. So the comment was made to my linked list video, so I'm going to build on a linked list code, of course. I'm going to build on part 5's code and make this part 6. I'm going to grab the code from my GitHub and I'll show you how to do that. And I'm going to add the ability to load and save data to files. I was thinking of doing it with buttons and automatically when the app starts and finishes. I think I'll just do it with the app starting and finishing. Okay, I don't think I want to make this an hour-long video. And we'll do this with methods in another class. So that controller class that we developed in the last video, we'll be adding the file save and file load methods into that. So the pseudocode, pretty simple. When you want to save data to a file, you open a file for output, which means you're going to write data to the file. And for each item in the array or the array list or the linked list or the queue or the stack or whatever data structure you're dealing with, you loop through each item in the list, and you write the ID to the file, you write the name to the file. If there's more data like address and phone number, you'd write all that data to file. And do that for each item in the queue or the linked list or the array or whatever it is, and then you close the file. Okay, so pretty simple process. One open statement, a bunch of write statements, and one close statement. That's what it comes down to. So that's saving a file. For loading a file, we're going to open the file for input, which means you're going to read the file. And while there's still data in the file, we're going to read the student ID, read the student name. If there's other data as well to go along with the student, for example, address and phone number and email address and all that sort of stuff, we'd read all that data in, read whatever we need to create a student object, and then create the student object, add that student object to the linked list or the array list or the queue or the stack, whatever you're dealing with, the data structure, the binary tree, whatever. And then you keep doing that while there's data in the file. And then when there's no more data, then you close the file. Okay, that's the plan of attack. It's pretty easy stuff. Once you've done it once or twice, of course. Okay. So this is part 6. So my assumption, as with all of my videos, is if you're working through this part of the video, you've worked through all the prior parts, you've written all the code yourself, so you understand it, and so on. Anything you weren't sure if you've done extra research and work to find out. So you're up to the stage where you can work through this. I've got to say these videos have been tons of work, so I hope you appreciate it. If you can spare a thumbs up, please do so. And I'll give you a hint there, giving a thumbs up is free. It doesn't cost you a cent. So click the thumbs up button, please. Show me you like my work. Otherwise, like I say, I'll go and do something else. There's plenty of other things I can be doing. Okay, so here's my GitHub page for this project. Okay, and the code that's in here at the moment is the code that was at the end of version 3. So it's that code there that was in that, oh, hang on. Sorry, at the end of version 4. So that part 4.03 code is this code that's here. Okay. I haven't checked in part 5. I've only checked in a zip file for part 5 at the end of part 5 video. Because in that video I said just download the code that's in my GitHub. So I didn't say click on a zip file. So I've got to leave, this isn't the latest code from now on. It's going to be an older code. So if you've done all the first 5 parts in this video, in this video series, you should have the latest code already. But if you need the code that I got to at the end of the last video, that's it there. So part 5, design controller MVC. There's a zip on there. So just click on that. Don't go up here and do this, because this will give you the part 4 code and all the zip files. Actually, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, okay, we might as well do that. Yeah, okay. There's many ways you can do it. So we'll download the zip file. Okay, that's gone to my downloads folder. Okay, so there's a file I just downloaded. I've dragged it across to do a little Java work area. I'm going to extract it now. I'm going to use my 7-zip tool. Actually, I'll just use Windows built-in tool. There we go. So if you right-click on a file and drag it and drop, you can go extract. And I'll extract to the same folder. So I'm going to delete all that. So I want to extract to the current folder where I'm currently working. Okay. This is using the built-in Windows extractor. Okay. And just go extract. And it's still created the subfolder. The subfolder is probably part of the GIP. Okay. So let's just move that back a level. So I've got, that's where I was. Okay. So I'm clicking on that folder that it's just created. I'm clicking on everything that's in there. So the first file, click Shift, click the last file, and left mouse click and drag it across. And replace. Yep. Okay, so there's everything there. And what we want to do with this project is start with the code as it was at the end of part 5, which is this code. Okay, so I'll delete everything. And we just got part 5 there, which is what I was going to do. You can do that. You can just download the file if you like from GitHub. It's the same thing. And again, we'll go through the extract, just to here. We'll go extract. Okay, and there's all the code. And that's where we got to at the end of part 5. We're now in part 6. Okay, so we're now going to work on this code and add the file save and the file load in, just following that pseudocode I just had. Okay. Okay, so I've loaded the. I'm just using TextPad because that's what my students use. If you want to use another editor, go for it. Okay, so here's our GUI class, which creates our GUI application. And I could create a button here to a file save button and a file load button. Okay, so I could create buttons here. I could add them to the user interface here, and I could make them call methods here. So I could have file save button dot add action listener event save file or something. Okay, and another one for load file. So I could do that, but what if we just wanted our data to automatically save to file when we start the application, and automatically load from file when we start the application, and automatically save when we exit the application? Okay, what if we wanted that to happen? Let's do that. Okay, it's a little bit harder, but that's what we could do. So, but if you want to make them buttons, just add buttons in, and just instead of having test data dot add test data, make it file save button and then call the file save method. That's all it is. It's just calling a method. Okay. Let's write our code first of all. Now there's many ways to do file I/O in Java. Many ways. Okay. I want to show you one of the simplest ways. Okay. And there are ways where we could actually write this whole linked list out with one single write command. No loops, just write it out with one single command. That's a bit advanced. We might do that in a future video. Okay, so for this video, I'm just going to show you the simplest way, which is the pseudocode I showed you earlier. Okay, let's go down to the end, and we'll have a public static void file save. Okay, and we're going to use Scanner, our good old friend Scanner, which you've used for getting user input before, and I think we've done Philo before in other videos, so we'll use our Scanner again. So we'll create a Scanner object, file, save, equals new Scanner. And we want to create, inside here we used to go system.in if we're getting input from the keyboard, system.in. Okay, system.in if you want to get input from the keyboard. We're now going to write something else in here so that we can get input from a file. Actually, sorry, this is file load. Sorry, file load. I'll do file load first. Okay, so instead of system.in, it's going to be new file reader. And again, there's many ways to do this. And we'll read the file students.txt. Okay, so new file reader object. And students.txt. Okay, and so what we're going to do is loop through our linked list and write each student out to file. Okay, so we could just use a loop like this if we wanted to. Okay, so we could do that. Okay, so we could, sorry, sorry. That's what we're going to do when we're file writing the file. We're file loading at the moment, so we don't know how much data is in the file. So we want to say while file save dot has. Actually, I might call that in file. So it's not file save at all. It's in file. I'm rushing because it's late at night and I'm trying to get this video done. It's 11 o'clock now. So it's been a long day of doing videos to people on the internet that I don't even know. They're not even my students. Go figure, eh? I must have a heart of gold. I must be getting a lot of karma somewhere because people aren't clicking the like button. But anyway, them's the breaks of being a YouTuber. So while in file, the scanner object dot has next. While that's true, we want to keep looping. So while has next returns true, there's more data in the file. Okay, and so string name str is equal to in file, and just like when you're reading input using from the keyboard, okay, dot next line. We're going to save each student item per line. So the name's on one line, the ID's on one line, and so on. And then the next student's name's on one line, the next student ID's on another line. We're just going to do that. Okay, and then ID string. We're just going to get the next line of data from the file, whatever that is. So we assume it's going to have a lot of names and IDs. Okay, let's go back to our student class, and we'll see how we can call a constructor. So it takes in a name and an ID. Okay, name and ID. Okay, so we're going to create a student email object. That's our data. That's our data type. So student email is our class, our data class. So we want to create a student email object. Stud is equal to new student email, and the constructor takes a name and an ID in that order. Okay, let's go back and review. A name and an ID in that order. So let's pass those details in. There's our name, come from file, and our ID has come from file. Okay, so this code so far opens the file for reading, for loading the data in. It's file reading. While the file's got more data, we're going to get the name from the file, get the ID from the file, create a student object, and then what we need to do is add them to our linked list. Okay, so there's our linked list. Okay, and probably what we should do is, before we start loading data in, we should probably erase the linked list so that the data in it's now empty. We're not going to load students in on the back of other students that have already been loaded in. Okay, so we just load the data in, and so erase the linked list and then load the data in, so we get a nice clean slate. Then we need to add a student to our linked list. So we could call the add student method here. Okay, we could call that method. But we know the data that's gone out to the file should be valid data because we wrote the data to file. Unless someone's got into our file and typed stuff in and hacked the file, we can assume our file's valid. And we'll do that for this project. Okay, because if you call the add student method, you might get these dialogues popping up, and that halts your load process. Okay, not good. So we might need to rejig things. So there we've created a student, and then we've added it to the linked list. That was in our add student method. So we just need that command there, student linked list dot add student. Okay, so let's put that down in our load method. Okay, there we go. And the last thing we want to do is in file.close. Close. Get rid of that code down there. And that's pretty close to all the code we need. Okay, so we're erasing the linked list, erasing all the data in the linked list, creating an in-file object, which is going to be reading data from our student.txt file. While that file's got more data, we're going to get the name of the student, okay, then get the ID of the student, and then create a student object by calling the constructor, and then adding that student into the linked list. Okay, so that's the bulk of the code we need for loading data, but there is one little thing that we need to worry about. When we use these commands, they can raise exceptions. Okay, so Java wants you to deal with exceptions. Java won't compile your code anymore unless you're going to deal with the exceptions. Okay, so we need to do that as well. Okay, so what we need to do is put anything that might cause an exception, we need to put it inside a try catch. Try. So all that code there goes inside the try catch. Catch. File not found exception. There can be various exceptions, or no such element exception. They're the main two we need to worry about. And for either of those, if it's either of those, we'll raise an error. And what we'll do is we'll system error.print stack trace. So that big message appears on screen that our program's crashed, and we can look in that and see what's gone wrong. So this isn't the sort of error you want the user to see. So this is just temporary while we can work out better error handling. Perhaps display a dialog saying the file could not be read. So JOption pane.show message dialog, file could not be read, or something like that. Okay, but we're just doing this for our own use at the moment. And that's probably enough. If you want to exit the program as well, you could exit the program. You can go system.exit, sys exit -1 or something, and the -1 indicates an error to whatever. If something else called your program, that indicates an error. We could also display a dialog. I don't think I want to exit right now. I think I'll just print the stack trace. Later on, you could also put a JOption pane.show message dialog in there if you want to show the error. Okay, so that's it for file loading. It's not too difficult. And so we're loading each student from file, creating a student, adding it to the linked list. That's all we're doing. Okay, that's file load. Let's now do file save. Okay, file save. And again, there's many ways you can do this. Many different ways you can do it. There's a whole lot of ways you can write data out to file in Java. I'm going to choose one of the easiest ways. Okay, just so we're not getting bogged down in detail. Okay, so we're going to use a formatter object. Formatter. That's just one of the ways to write a file in Java. Out file equals new formatter. And again, we'll call it students.txt. Get rid of those extra quotes. Okay, students.txt. And what we want to do is for each item in our array, or in our linked list, or in our array list, whatever data structure, we want to write that data out to file. Okay, so we're in a loop that loops through our array list. So we can do that. That little loop there is a good starting point from asString. Let's paste that down there for a second. We don't want to do that though. Okay, and it's out file.format %s. It's like you're doing a printf command or a string.format command. So we want string data going out to file. And it's student.getName, or whatever the accessor method is for the name. GetName, there it is. Student.getName. And we want a new line at the end of that. Okay, so we're going to have 1 bit of data per line. Do the same thing for get ID, whatever the accessories there is, get ID. Get ID. So that's writing the student name out to a file as a string and writing the ID out to a file as a string with a new line after each bit of data. So it's one bit of data per line. Okay, because we're reading it up here as 1 bit of data per line with next line. Okay, and that's it. And then it's just out file.close. So that's the basic code. But like I said earlier with the reading data, now that we've written this code, we need to use exception handling to deal with any exceptions. Okay, because the code won't even compile now without the exception handling. Okay, so we need to add that in as well. Okay, so all of this code here goes in a try. Oops. And we'll input indent that a bit, and then catch, and we'll catch some exceptions in there, and that's about it. Closing curly bracket, closing curly. Okay, so we need to just put some code in there. Again, we'll put an error.print stack trace down in there. Again, we could put a message to a GUI dialog, joptionpane.show dialog. We might do that a little bit later. Okay, we'll see how we go. This video is already up to over 20 minutes, so okay. Midnight's coming. It's been a long day of videos for you guys. Hope you appreciate it. Okay, so there's a whole bunch of errors we can catch in here, catch, and it's these same 2 errors are the main ones, and then there's a formatter closed exception. Okay, so if it's any of those 3 types of errors, this code in here will run. So if anything up there throws any of those exceptions, our code will run. If something up there throws an exception and these don't catch it, if there's not enough things here to catch it, if it's a different type of error, our program will crash. Okay, so we don't have a catch to deal with the error. Okay, so now what we need to do is add some imports for our various bits of stuff that we've brought in. So let's do that. So it's import java.util.formatter. That takes care of the formatter class. Okay, and the scanner, java.util.scanner, and import java.io.filereader. Okay, that should take care of those. Let's do a compile and test. Yes, now we're going to bring in the exception stuff as well. Just a sec. Okay, so we had to add 3 extra imports to get those errors to disappear. Java.io.file.not-found exception. You can just import java.io.star if you like, and that shrinks your imports down. Java.util.star will get rid of those too. So if you want to use the .star versions, that's fine as well. Okay, but that gets rid of those errors. The error as well, when we create a student, we're going to add that we have an exception to deal with. So let's do that as well. For example, down here, we've got this, we've got the try catch around the student. Okay, so student email exception. Okay, so we need to deal with that as well when we're creating it. Every time we create a student, we need to deal with that. So what's the best way to do that without making things too complex? I think I might just add it into the list of errors to deal with. Okay, so it's here. So here we're creating a student, and it might throw a student email exception, so we need to add it in here as well. Okay. So again, we're assuming, I think that's pretty safe to do because we're assuming the data coming from file is data that we've written earlier, so the data's got to be valid, unless someone's been in there hacking the file, in which case all bets are off anyway. Okay, we're going to get a stack trace and we get exit or something, or show a dialog. Okay, so just add that in there to the file load method. I've added in with a single vertical bar student email exception. So if any of those 3 types of errors happen, this code will run. Whatever's inside the catch will run. That's not commented out, of course. So that should be it. Yep, we're all okay there. So now what we're going to do, we've got file save and file load. Now, one thing you notice here, we've got student.text here and also got student.text here. Let's make it a constant at the top of the program, okay? Just have that data once. So private static final string file name, data file name equals students.text, okay? And let's use data file name instead of students.text everywhere in our code. So data file name, and in the saving, data file name. That's much better. One last thing to do. Let's add the calls to the file save and file load into our code. Okay. So file load's the first one. Let's put that in our constructor. Okay. So we can put it anywhere in here. Anywhere in here. I usually put these things at the end of the constructor. And we're not version 0.2 anymore. We're version 0.5 now, or version 0.6. I should have been changing that for each video. Doesn't matter. Okay. So file load, and it's a controller static method, so controller dot file load. If we had a button and we want to make the button clickable, it'll be something like this. Load data button. Okay, so if we had a load data button, we could wire it up to that method by doing that. Controller dot file load. Same thing. Okay. But I'm just going to do it automatically. When the program starts, we'll load the data in. When the program exits, we'll save the data out. Okay. Exit application. Do we call exit application anywhere? No. Okay. There's one little, because we're doing this automatically when the program saves or exits, we need to make sure this exit method's called whenever the program wants to exit. So they click the little X in the top right hand corner, the little X icon. We want to make sure that this method's called, or the save method's called anyway. Okay, so we need to make a few little changes to our code. First of all, we'll put that in here. Sorry, we'll get that same code. Let's just get it. Controller dot file save. Okay, so whenever the exit application method's called, the data will automatically be saved. Now we need to make sure that's called. Okay, so just a sec. Okay, so there's a little bit of code we need to add to our constructor as well to make it so that the exit methods, or the exit application method's always called whenever they click the little X icon. At the moment it won't be called. Okay, so let's do that here. And here's the code. I'm just going to paste it in. So it's this code here. And this is into our constructor that's building the GUI. Okay. So we're adding a special new window listener to our JFrame. It's going to have a window listener, and it's going to be for the window closing event, or window event, which is window closing event, and that means call our exit application, which is our little method down lower in our code. Okay, so I've added this code here, and okay, and also there's our controller file load. So we're just in our constructor still, and this should be it. Okay, so now when we run our program, the file will automatically load. And when we exit the application, if we click a button, use the menu, or click the little X icon in the top right hand corner, this exit application method will be called, which means our file save method will be called. So the data should load and save automatically when we run our application, which is a nice feature. Okay, let's run it. Control 1. New window. Oh, we're going to do some imports to window adapter. Okay, so let's have a look at our help file, window adapter. Java.awt.event.star should do it. I want to do I might do an import with a star. Star import. awt.event.star should do it. Cool, that's done. Let's run. So you see we've got the exception coming out here because we're catching the exception and throwing a stack trace. So this isn't a bad exception, it's just saying the file doesn't exist. That's quite okay. That's what we're expecting. We're running the program for the first time. So that's just showing that our program is working. Okay. So let's type in some test data and let's exit. So we'll click the little X icon. So let's have a look at our data file. And so we're looking for student.text. There it is, student.text. And you can see there that I've got Moose, and then so my name, then a student number, then the next name, then a student number, then the next name, then a student number. So the data file's really easy to understand. Okay, that's the benefit of doing a nice text-based data file. If we'd done that typed file that I sort of briefly talked about earlier, where we can just write the data to file in one bash, in one command, no loops, it would be a binary file, and we wouldn't be able to read the data. It would be much harder to read the data. It'd be all strange characters everywhere. Okay, so that's the advantage of a plain text file. Okay, let's run our program again. And Control-2. And now you'll see we've got no errors this time. So no errors came up. So our data file loaded correctly. We've loaded our data file, but we haven't displayed the data. Display all. The data's there. Let's make it so we load the data file and automatically click the display all button as well. Okay, so we'll do that. So load data file. And let's just have a look what display all does. There it is, display all. So we want to call that method as well when we load the file. So this is up in our constructor. There's our GUI, student email GUI constructor. And right down the end here where we had the call to the file load method, we're going to also call the display all method. Okay, and that's in this class, so we don't have to put anything in front of that. It's just display all. Okay, so that'll load the data and then display it. So it'll automatically, our GUI will appear just as we left it with all the data displayed. Control-1, Control-2. Okay, and there it is. So all the data's been displayed. No errors because the file exists now, so everything's working great. Let's add some data. 101. I've already got a Frankie, Bella, Hank. Add. Let's close the program. Okay, and let's run it again. Control-2, and there's Hank. There's Hank being displayed. So everything's working great. Our students are being saved to file. Let's have a look at our data file. Student.txt. There it is there. And now you can see Hank's also being displayed or being saved. Okay, so that's our file IO added to the class. So we've still got our GUI class. We've still got our controller class, which has got all the brains or the processing in it. We've got our data class, and we've got a little exception class, which deals with data exceptions for this class. Okay, so it's not too hard to add file IO in. There's many ways you can do it. I've just shown you one way. Hope this was useful. I've given up about 8 or 10 hours of my Sunday to make these videos for you. The 2 videos today, I've given up about 10 hours of my Sunday. So please click the thumbs up button, show a bit of appreciation. I'll probably get a lot of haters clicking the thumbs down button because there's a lot of nasty people on the internet. But anyway, hey, hope you enjoyed the videos. Hope you got something out of them. Hope you learned something. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day.